Okay, we're here again at Quail Run Ranch.
Yeah.
Can you catch it?
Well,
I can throw it real well.
Look at that, the seat's even red and white.
All right, throw
Ready?
it.
So we're here at Quail Run Ranch with the infamous Horace Crawford and another one of his amazing machines.
Is this it with the Ford emblem on it?
Yeah.
So tell us, Horace, what do we have here?
Well, we have right here in front of us a 1945 Farmall Tractor, and it's their Style A, which is the middle-sized tractor they made in those years. Could you hold this for me? It required some restoration, one new tire, and work on the magneto and new plugs and all. And other than that, she runs nice. So I'm going to now hook up the battery, which is over here, sitting over here. Originally this tractor you had to hand crank it, but they were then adapted for an electric starter, and that's what I'm about to put the hot wire on. Electric starter. It has a 12-volt battery, and that's an alternator up there. The old style would have had a generator sitting there where this alternator is. This tractor is uniquely designed in that it was Farmall was the first tractor company to come up with the idea to move the engine off to the left and the seat off to the right, so you could look directly down the steering wheel when you were farming.
Oh yes, I see that.
Cultivating, so you didn't cultivate the plants, you cultivate the rows in between the plants. And you can see the seat is very close to the fender over there and pretty far over here on this side. A lot of extra room. This little switch shows you've got power in the battery.
So how many cylinders?
It's got 4 cylinders. 4 cylinders, and now let's see if we can make a little noise.
Oh my gosh! It started right up. My car doesn't even start that fast.
It starts so quick, you almost hold us out too long.
And it just purrs.
So a couple of other little characteristics. Here are 2 pedals, and these are the brakes for the right side and the left side. If I leave this up, when I get to the end of a row, I could press this, lock that wheel, spin it around in a real tight circle. Most of the time when using it like we will be today, and at other times, we leave this lever in there, and wherever you push handles both brakes. This is the clutch. This is a very tight clutch in that when it engages, it's so solid the tractor wants to jump forward just a tiny bit. Scares most people initially, and so they push the clutch back in, stops, and they do this a few times till they, because it does not gently go forward. You have it in first gear when you start, and it has 4 forward speeds and reverse. 3 of the speeds, first, second, and third, are for using in the field. 4 is called the road gear. So if you were moving this tractor, say a few miles down the highway, you would put it in fourth gear and she really moves along. We seldom use fourth gear here on the ranch because it goes a little fast and the driver becomes a little bit nervous. Whereas first, second, and third are fine in reverse. Now, when you change gears, this is first, you completely stop the tractor. You put the clutch in, you got a foot on the brake, and you move it to 2. And then you start out again. It starts on all 4 gears from dead stop. You don't like you do in a car, you know it's rolling along, you shift from second to third.
Right.
This isn't it's that way. It has reverse right up here, and so you normally, when you're not driving it, you leave it in gear. We have a little platform back here that I built so that an adult could stand behind a young person or someone who was getting some practice, and they could learn how to drive without being out there all on their own. Peggy often is here with daughter Laura, who's 12, and she drives this tractor quite well now. Another very interesting aspect is most people look at this handle here, and when I pull it forward it speeds up. What they think is you're giving it more gas. No, this isn't even attached to the gas. This is attached to the magneto over here, and as the spark speed changes, as it sparks faster and faster for the plugs, the engine runs faster and faster. Then when you turn it back the other way, it just lopes along in slow gear. But this tractor requires no battery to run it down the road. In the old days, you would just crank it up, get on, and take off. And then when they put starters on these, they put a little battery box here, and it made it much easier than being up there and trying to crank it and busting your knuckles or elbow or something. So I have a hand crank, but we don't hand crank it, because if it backfires you get a pretty good jolt and maybe not good for your arms.
Now, where would you attach implements?
Implements would be attached in 3 places. They would be attached here for a drag plow that you're pulling along, or rake or whatever. And if you were going, you might have a mower here in the middle, it's circular mower, or you might have some blades, and you see the 2 big bolts down there about halfway down below my fingers.
Right.
And over here are some more. You could hang a plow off of there. So you do many varieties of plowing and cultivating by just changing a location. This tractor was purchased by a vineyard man in Brentwood, and he has had a large vineyard, and he bought 5 of these on the same day. He bought these way back in the old days. We think all 5 were bought new in 1945.
Wow.
But the way he used this tractor, and he bought this particular size, medium size, because it doesn't have very wide wheelbase, and it would fit to run down between the rows of grapes. So over there where you see those 2 bolts, when it was in use, would be a large wicker basket. Wicker basket hanging here, another one over here, and one in the back. And people would be walking along with the tractor going very slow, tractor in first gear mostly, and they would cut the grapes, these were table grapes, and they would lay them in the baskets. And so for 90% of the time, probably estimated by me, this tractor was run in low gear, very gently. It wasn't worked hard, it wasn't pulling a big load or any of the things that tend to wear wear down your tractor, your implement. And so then he, in 2009, he purchased 5 replacement tractors, and he bought 5 Kubotas from Japan. A very popular tractor in the U.S., very high quality tractor. And so he put these up for sale. My neighbor, about 10 houses down from me, bought this tractor, and I went by one day and saw it sitting there in his driveway, and I stopped it and talked to him, and I thought he was just working on it for somebody, because he does mechanic work. No, he said, I bought it, I'm going to fix it up. A month or so later, it wasn't there anymore, and I thought he had sold it or something. But no, he had parked it around back because his wife didn't want this tractor sitting in the front driveway, and he had it back there with a tarp on it. And I stopped. He said, I'm selling the tractor. I said, I thought it was already sold. Oh no, it's around back under a tarp. He said, my doctor told me that for the next 3 years I should not be putting any pressure on my spine by pulling on heavy lug bolts and all this other kind of stuff. So he said, I'm selling it for what I paid for it. You want it, it's yours.
Wow.
So that afternoon I bought it. It was the best price of 5 or 6 similar to this that I'd looked at, and as it turned out, to have it run, all I did was bring the magneto up here to Reading, where there's a old fellow that restores them, and I had the alternator serviced, and we hooked her up. Somebody has to lay on their belly underneath to make sure the flywheel and the little mark for having the right timing are lined up with a certain place. So you push the magneto in, we put the key in, start it up right away.
Yeah.
It's never had a problem starting except when we over choked it and it gets flooded by, it's a choke over here. You just push it down and pull on it, and so it works. So again, put her not too high speed. So I better turn the key on, huh? That's the choke right there. That's running that choke. So there you have it, 1945 Farmall. It's a beauty.